Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode. You may remember this bit of carbon that I moulded off the bottom of this shoe. This is the one that I'll be using in my streamliner. I had to cut the toes out. So I moulded this off the bottom in the attempt to make carbon fiber shoes, and that sort of didn't happen. Sort of sat doing nothing for a long time. And I made a plaster cast of my foot, and recently I've tried to put silicone in it because I stuffed the cast up and made it a little bit too big. I put a couple of socks on before I molded it, thinking that when I'd have my foot in the shoe, I'd have a sock on, and then I wanted a little bit more just for cushioning. But it turns out it was too big, so I tried filling it with silicone to, create a proper cast of my actual foot, but that didn't work because the silicone didn't set properly. So what I'm going to do now is make a carbon fiber mold of my foot. So same method as this, except I'll be wrapping my foot in carbon fiber, and then fingers crossed, once it's set, I can cut it off with the Dremel. So I'll just put like a strip of tape down and around my foot, like in this manner. A big strip of tape down here, which is like Gorilla Tape, so it's super tough. So when I'm cutting the carbon, I know when I've hit that because I'll feel the pressure, but I won't feel it cut into my skin. And I can cut the strip all the way down and around and up the heel and split it in two, get my foot out, which I'll have wrapped in cling wrap. And then I can tape the two halves together and fill it with just about plaster of Paris, and like make a proper actual exact cast of my foot. So previously when I made this, I wasn't really sure how to make shoes, but I googled how to make carbon fiber shoes, and this was inspired by Andrea Gallo, the Italian team, who had carbon shoes made. Because the toes cut out, there's still a couple of mil between that and my toes. So if I make carbon shoes, it's going to be exactly formed to my foot, and I'll be able to get the most out of my pedal stroke. And I know that it won't be rubbing on the fairing, and I won't have to, destroy a pair of shoes. So recently I googled how to do it properly and how the pros do it, and you can see the wavy pattern, and in the inner sole it's got raised bits and lowered bits and cushiony bits at the back. So when I form the carbon fiber shoe, I'll have to build it around this and around that. So when I slip the inner sole in, it'll be like fit perfect to my shoe. But I didn't realize that you had to like flex the toe up and have the ball of your foot at like the inflection point. So probably around about there. So I noticed that, the bottom of the shoe is to that shape, and then the inner sole is pretty much the same to that shape. And that's the shape that your foot needs to follow. Because if it's just a flat foot, which this was, because I just cast it and then put my foot on the ground until it set, you won't get the power and it'll just be uncomfortable. So what I'm doing now is I've got tape, I've got a bit of plastic, so it's like a flat surface to put my foot onto. So it's not just gonna like fall into this. I'm just going around with tape and taping this on, like so. This feels like a art show on television. And then I can start the next step of wrapping my foot and measuring carbon and cutting and stuff. So that'll be next in this video, which will be very exciting. So follow me on this journey of attempting a second time to make a carbon fiber shoe. So I've got the carbon fiber bottom covered with the hard black plastic sort of medium flexibility black plastic, and then I've laid the inner sole over the top of that. I've prepped my foot. Probably won't do the carbon fiber today because I'm on call for work and I might get called out halfway through a cure, but that's ready to go. I'm going to wrap this in cling wrap, shave my ankle so I don't pull all the hairs out. I can just place that bang in position, let the carbon dry, and when I take it out, when I have a cast of my foot, so I'm going to buy some inner soles and I will attach those inner soles to the bottom and then somehow cling wrap over it and put body filler over it maybe or something just to hold it in place, so when I vacuum form it's like accommodating the size of the inner sole as well as my foot, and then hopefully have a carbon fiber shoe. What I've got here is some kangaroo leather, which is left over from when I upholstered a rocking chair that I found on the side of the road and reconditioned. So that, along with some of this blue foam, will become the tongue of the shoe, because this one's got a bit of squishy in it, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll do a bit of squishy, and it's leather, so I'll do a leather tongue with a second layer of stitching on the inside, and a bit of foam in the middle to cushion it. That's the idea anyway. Don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. So we got the second side finished. I'll end up only doing one foot at a time, but I figured I'd prep both of them now so I can line up all the green bits here and all the lines and make sure they're all perfectly symmetrical one side to the other, which they are. The middles line up like that. What I've got here is a bin, and my plan, I don't know if it's going to work, but I want to put this in here wrapped in plastic, and then wrap my foot in plastic with the tape and everything on it, lay the carbon over it, put a bag around it with a little tube coming out, and then tape it so that tube can bleed air to the bag, and place my foot in the bin like this and fill the bin up with warm water to help cure the carbon faster. And I'm hoping that the water pressure of the water up to here, which is probably about 1/2 meter, will be just enough to provide gentle pressure on the carbon, not to crush my foot, but just to push it against my foot. So what I'm going to do now is create a bag with that tube and fill this bucket full of water and put my foot in it without the bit down the bottom and see what it feels like. Make sure it doesn't crush me too much, because if I suck a vacuum on my foot, it's going to be 14 psi, and it's going to be a lot, and if I don't suck a complete vacuum it might leak, and then you have to regulate the air pressure. You have to regulate the air pressure like on and off, on and off, on and off as you're curing the resin. So the vacuum's constantly going to be like too much or too little, too much or too little. But with this, it's going to hopefully, fingers crossed, be the perfect pressure. Because I've worn waders, like the rubberized waders for work before, and there is quite a bit of pressure on your legs. Even like under 1 meter of water, it's substantial. So if you dive into a pool, it's not that much. It doesn't feel like that much because you're not comparing it to the outside temperature, outside pressure. But like this, I think it'll work because you can feel the comparative pressure differential. So I've pretty much finished the bag. I've got a little tube in there, and my foot slips in like this. And then that sits just like that. It should crush in nice, and we've got a little bit of spare if we need it. But the bag comes up to here, so I'm going to have to shave my legs up to like there. Legs are shaved. I'll go test out this water pressure theory. I'll just use masking tape for now. Hopefully it seals good enough. And see if it actually works. Tape is on. Foot is in the bucket. Watch out, chickens. Time to add some very, very, very cold tank water. Oh, actually, it's quite warm because the hose has been in the sun and it's full of water. I can feel the pressure building up. I can't tell if I'm getting wet or if it's just the cold. So these tape bits might not have sealed. Might flip it inside out and put some tacky tape along the inside just in case, because I know tacky's definitely going to hold. But the air's going out of the bag quite nice. The pressure is mild, which is exactly what I wanted. I'll get back to you when it fills up because it's taking its time. I was thinking I'd have to fill it all the way to the top to get sufficient squish, but it seems pretty good. Feels like it got water in it. I'll have to check those seals and do it again. But yeah, this is fine. It's squishing like perfectly. It's a shame I can't take it out and show you because it's like the pressure comes off. But yeah, the pressure on my foot is like perfect. Right, time for the second try. Also, I don't need the tape or the hose anymore because all I'm doing is filling the water up to the top. No further. I don't think it leaked. I just took it out and had a feel around on the inside and it felt dry. Compression is good. I've just got a paper towel in there now. Hopefully that'll absorb some moisture, and when I take my foot out in a couple of minutes, I'll leave it a couple of minutes just to prove my point. And see if there's any water droplets left on the paper towel. Look at that, no droplets. Now what I'm going to do is measure how many litres are in here, and that way I know how much hot water I need for when I actually do it. Right, so in the bin there was about 13 litres, so I'll probably make 15 to 17 litres worth of water, hot water up, and then have a little jug so I can take a few out and top it up with some boiling water just to keep the water temperature consistent. So I've got the template for the outer layer, which I'll be cutting out of leather. Just here, I've got the template for the foam padding that'll go like that, and then I can cut a inner section that'll go from here around, and then I can stitch around the outside and then just stitch over here. I don't think I'll fully complete it yet because I'm not exactly sure how I'll feed this little section through and out onto the top of a shoe. But you know, I'll cut it out ready because I know I'm going to have some sort of tongue in the shoe. I did say I wasn't going to finish it off, but I'm going to finish it off. So I've got pencil line marked around the inside just next to the foam, and then one around the outside that like dips in on this V and back around. And you can sort of see the indent of the foam there. Cut a little notch out. And here's one I prepared earlier. Just snip these bits off. So I've finished both of these, and that's what it's going to look like once it's in the shoe. Sort of squished around my foot like that, conforming. It's actually very comfortable, and then that'll stick out and glue down or something, I'm not really sure. Wrap a bit of tape around the end and I'll figure it out when I get there. So today's the day I cast my foot in carbon. I was thinking that this isn't going to keep the water out, so what I'll do is bag it like this and use this to let the air out, because I'm not going to use it for that because I won't have the water high enough. So I'll just cut out some bag out of this and put some tacky tape around it and then put that in it. Right, so we got my foot taped up, stripped down the middle, couple of layers of cling wrap. I know there's no gaps in that, and it's all stuck to each other. I'm pretty confident it'll come off nice. Gaps down here under my toes should seal nice, and when I take my foot cast, I'll just fill it in with a bit of body filler so it's like nice and flat, so I don't get a ridge in the bottom of my shoe when I form it, because I'll form it with the what do you call it, inner sole on. I've got my foot wrapped up and currently in the process of filling it up with warm water. The water level is up as high as it needs to be. I've felt the pressure at the bottom and it feels good. Every little bit of carbon's pressing where it needs to press. Water temperatures was too hot, but now it's good, so I can get my hand in and feel around. Doesn't feel like we got any leaks because this bag is still sealing. You pull it back and it springs back, especially under the water. You lift it up and the water pressure pushes it back. So I don't think there's water mixing with the carbon, but we'll find out in about an hour. So what I'll do is sit back, relax, make sure my knee is over my toe and in line with my hip, and sit back and watch some YouTube videos. So I've been at this for about an hour. The water's still pretty warm actually, like it must have been very hot to start. It's hard enough that I can't really move my foot around. So what I'm going to do is take it out because my hamstring is like pushing on the corner here and it's annoying. So I'm going to take my foot out and just rest it over here, dry it off, take it out of the bag and go sit it up somewhere to cure for another hour maybe, stick it in the sun, lie down or something, and then I can start getting a Dremel out and attempting to remove it. Fingers crossed I do, otherwise I'll have to chop my foot off. The bag containing the inner sole leaked. It's just a little bit damp here, but yeah, I think it'll dry quite well. Let's see what this one did. Well, it stuck pretty well. I don't think it did. Let me feel. No. That's good. There's a few little pleats here, but once I cast my foot in the plaster of Paris, I'll sort of just sand that down. So in the end there. Yeah, it should be fine. And if it's not, I'll do it again. looks like it's released. Slide my foot out. The cling wrap stuck to the tape on the bottom. There we go. Oh, that's perfect. Where it's overlapped, the resin's filled in. Oh, that's amazing. Oh yes. There's like a little bit here joining it together. Not a single imperfection in it. And I only nicked my foot a couple of times with the Dremel. When I was doing it, it would heat up the plastic and it would like burn a lot. And I'd be like, oh. But then I couldn't escape it because it was like my foot was entombed in the carbon. Oh, it feels good to breathe. Oh yeah. Stoked on that. Well, this is what it looks like. Pretty nice. What I'll do is I'll peel this off, tape it back together, and then leave it in the sun to cure properly, because it takes about 24 hours to like fully cure, because it's still flexible. I don't want it to be flexible out of shape. So stick it back together like that and leave it in the sun down there. So I've cleaned out most of the stuff on the inside and not too worried about the outside. I will eventually sand it so there's no spiky bits. But on it, that's my chicken. What do you want? On the inside, I've just put some body filler to fill all the crinkles and just sanded it out, and then get out of it. What I'll do after that is I'll spray it with a sort of clear coat so it's nice and smooth and shiny, and then I can put like a non-stick film for when I pour the plaster of Paris.